That will happen, but not.
I
not
mean,
while she's
eventually it
alive.
hits all of us, right? The old rigor mortis.
Old rigor mortis.
Creeping in. That doesn't help. All right. Please, silence. Welcome to the Marketing Team of One podcast, where we have conversations about the issues one-person marketing teams face when trying to meet their goals with limited time and budgets. Now here's your hosts, Eric and Mike. How's it going, Mike? How you doing?
I got to know what's going on here. Hat, sunglasses, Hawaiian shirt, candy, cigar.
Yeah, these are take the edge off, man. These are working pretty good. I'm not going to smoke a real cigar, but
What's your flavor there? Cherry?
Cherry. El Bubble.
El Bubble.
Yeah.
Maybe we could get them as a sponsor, huh? So what's with the get up? Why are you dressed like this?
Robots, AI. Fixes everything, man. They do everything. I don't have to do anything anymore. I mean, I'm going on vacation. I'm taking the rest of the week off. I'm out of here, man.
So AI is doing everything.
Nope.
So replying to all your emails?
Well, I mean
they're completing designs for you,
no.
Writing copy for things. Final copy. You can just send it
Final?
off.
No, not final copy.
So AI is doing all these things without your intervention whatsoever, and you can go on vacation.
Okay. No. I guess I'm canceling my vacation then.
Oh, I'm sorry to cancel, ruin the dream.
But they promised, that's what everybody promises.
The promise of AI, it's going to make work obsolete.
I won't have to do anything. Just robots do it all. Right?
I mean, that's where they're headed, right? That's what they keep saying, right? And I think that's where things are headed, right? Everyone's talking about how it's going to, make life easier. We're going to be able to cut out everything, but that's really not the reality now. Who knows? It might get there. But so this is an evolving conversation.
Right. I think that's what we said before we began was like, this is probably the first of many AI conversations we have.
Yeah.
This is really just State of the Union as of, mid 2024, I guess, if we have to put a date on it, because things are going to be changing all the time, and we'll probably want to check back in.
Oh, yeah.
And talk about this.
Yeah. And we probably could get a lot more specific about different tools and things that we've seen work, but the reality is that none of us are going on vacation and letting AI do our work.
No, we're so far away from that at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of great promise, and I'm sure that there's certain parts of certain jobs that run into being maybe threatened by AI, but I think when it comes down to it, if human beings are providing value for their organizations or companies, then they're not going to be replaced. I mean, I think that that's a general, there's a lot of things that can be automated for sure. And that's what's going to make life easier for people. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to automate everything. All the intricacies of doing the things is still there's parts of it that are automated. Yes.
Yeah.
They've been automated for a while. It's not a new thing.
Yeah.
I think the generative AI stuff is where people get really excited and, get out over their skis on hopes and dreams of what that stuff can do. But I don't know about you, but I've not seen anything that I would send off to a client out of generative AI, whether it's words or images. What are your thoughts?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a huge role for, in this AI world to have a level of discernment on what you're looking at and who's going to be receiving that and how they're going to receive it. Right. And the best way I've seen is if you spend any time in Reddit boards, right, and somebody's trying to be helpful in the Reddit board, but you can tell they just asked ChatGPT the answer and they paste it in there. Everyone on that Reddit board is finally attuned to what AI wrote.
Yep.
And that it's people's AI radar is really up. And I think there will be a lot of people who don't have any discernment there. They're just trying to check a box and they're going to get that stuff done. But if it's a quality thing, and I don't think that AI has got to the point. Maybe someday it will be, but I don't think AI has got to the quality angle right now, and that we as humans need to be more attuned to that and know that there will be a place for us with the robots helping us, but it's never going to be completely replaced. It's never going to respond to your emails
in a very nuanced way, which email especially is very delicate.
Yeah. It's never going to, like, design-wise and image-wise. I mean, I think in one-offs, you could probably do pretty good. But, like, if you're in charge of a brand and you want a consistent look and feel, I know the tools will probably expand and become a little bit more consistent on everything. But I don't know. For someone who hasn't spent a lot of time really, like, trying to, like, hone that craft, it's not something you just run to the AI and put in something and you're going to get something. It takes a lot of.
You got to have the eye, you got to have the ear, you got to have the experience to know what's good and coming out of it. And in fact, I think AI even at this point has a style to it, especially visually. Like, I can immediately see posts on social media that are, somebody just went into Midjourney. Boom. There's the same lighting, the same nuanced, elevated look and feel to things that, as a trained professional, we're like, bingo, that's not real,
Yeah. It's something smells funny.
Yeah, for sure. And the copy too. There's a language, there's a formality that I think comes, even as you try to train the models with your own custom training within ChatGPT, which is, a whole other thing. It still produces content that is not, you can sniff it out. It's a little too like, what? Like, you can tell it's not human produced in a way.
Back to the dream of vacation land, I don't think it's reality yet. It might be
fun. Yeah.
But I'm more optimistic that, an example I like to use all the time is that fax machines are still a thing. Some people still use fax machines. Now, I was telling people that they should dump fax machines 15, 20 years ago.
When was the last time we got a fax? I'm trying to think. I mean, not even a junk fax. Like, I don't even get junk faxes. I remember those.
Oh my God. Yeah. They finally realized that there's nobody that, like, it took way longer than it should have for them to realize that was stupid.
That's so dumb.
But I mean, there's going to be a large portion of people that they're going to be kicking and screaming their way. A lot of businesses are going to be kicking and they're screaming. I know a lot of businesses that still do a lot of things on paper. Everything's a paper thing, right? You're not going to just, like, change their mind on AI and on those things. It's not, like, I think that if you spend most of your day at a computer or on a screen and you're absorbing marketing news, design news, tech news, the picture that's painted of AI, I think it might be overblown.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the future holds. Nobody truly does, but I have reason for optimism that it's not just going to, create this world where robots are doing everything and we're on a beach.
So at where we're at with AI and the tools right now, I mean, there is a wide range of AI tools that are optimized for doing everything from video editing to creating avatars that speak and do fake videos, which if you've seen those, there's this you can tell it's not a human being talking. Very few of them are very good, and the ones that are good are very expensive.
Yes.
And still not that great. I mean, there's that
the uncanny valley.
The uncanny valley that people just pick up on immediately with that stuff. So that almost seems disingenuous in a sense too. It's like, oh, I'm not even worth like a real human talking to me. So there's everything. There's such a mix of all types of tools that are built around AI and marketing. What do you think? What have you seen that is really some of the more helpful things that are ready for prime time? And at what level do you incorporate those into marketing at this point? It is a big list, I know, but there's a general bunch of categories. I'll start by just saying stuff like research, ChatGPT, you can throw an Excel file in there and it'll type out a paragraph or a sentence describing a lot of the details that you might want to learn about that. You can have it go out and search. Now there's a tool called Perplexity that goes out on the internet and does research for you and can do a little bit of that. I would say a general idea I have in my head around AI right now is that it gets you 60 to 70% of the way there, which is a lot. That's a lot of work. But there's that 30%, 40% even that you need human eyes and analysis around some of that stuff. But that's one of the things that I know when we're working with web clients. Part of our initial process is to go through and do an analysis and look at the landscape. And there's a part where, the robots could go start doing that scraping and automate some of that stuff and then produce it back to us where we can come in and analyze that and present that to a client.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I've dove fully into one area to try and get really good at it when it comes to AI tools. They've been kind of spread pretty wide on things. My things now are, I think that using AI tools like ChatGPT to help with, it's replaced a search engine for a lot of things, ton of things, right? Like it's been invaluable in that way. My thing is I found is like, I'm always wanting more out of it. And I think, so I will do a little things like, I think getting to 60% is, in my usage, is kind of idealistic when it comes to creating things that I want other people to see. I think I see it more like that 30, 40%. It's helping me kickstart the blank page phenomenon. It's a huge thing to get something on a page to be able to react to and edit and everything. But I haven't found anything that's got me, over halfway there yet, without going in and doing the work to tune things.
That's the secret. And that's where all the time is spent for people that I've seen. And I'm trying to learn a lot about it to see, what it can do. I think that it does everybody a service, including our clients. It helps them to us produce better stuff for them. And save money. I mean, it does save money, and it is an efficient tool to use, and that's where I think everybody gets so excited about it. But the funny thing is a lot of those like demo videos that I watch, you can automate this and automate that. They show all the automations that take place in it, and then they get to the part where they have to, and then you train the model to speak like you do. And they just say, I copy and paste this out of a Word doc I already did. Okay, that could take you months to figure out those specific pieces of information that you need to do to train your model to sound like or emulate what you are.
Or a lot of focused time on this. And I think what I've noticed is me not being able to go in deep to do these training things is not from I know it exists. I know those things exist. I know it's somewhat possible. Sometimes it's just focused because there's so many other things that need to get done. Is it really, can I take all this time to try and train custom instructions, or do I have the time to understand and learn what it means to be more of a prompt engineer and get those things and then look at the output of it and then say, oh, this is pretty darn good. Oh, let me go back and test it again. You have to have this very iterative mindset and be able to keep coming back to that. But like, if you're if you got a full plate of things to try and work on, that seems like a huge luxury.
And that's why you see prompt engineering as a job now. And it is highly paid because they know that at the end of the day, if they produce something that's viable and it matches and everybody's happy with it, you've saved, tons and tons of time and resources. So, but that's not an easy thing. I mean, that's why those people get paid a lot of money, because it's a hard skill to refine. And to just do it is ridiculous. That just isn't
from a practical example, I was writing copy for the email that we send out to everybody who signed up for notifications.
Thank you all. Thank you.
And it's a little summary of the podcast episode, right?
Yep.
And so we've used AI, we feed that in there, and we get the AI spits out its synopsis of everything. It's long. It's boring and everything. And I could spend, an hour trying to tune the AI model to try and get me a thing
4 words
for the one small sentence. Or I did the same, it took me a half hour. I wrote something fun that I felt was more unique to us. And so I don't see how AI could have replaced that.
Yeah, you put an emphasis on the funny little bits when you do those descriptions, and that's how do you tell an AI to put hierarchy on the goofiness? Because it's a lot of that is the unpredictability of it, that you can't tell AI to be unpredictable with that kind of content creation, I don't think.
Yeah. And so it's those little things that that give me hope and optimism that there's always going to be a place for the people who can think critically about this. And I think it's a matchmaking thing. What are you putting out there into the world, and what is the world trying to get from it? I see it all the time in email now. A lot of emails I get that are automated, sequences of cold emails that are all written by AI. You can sniff it out in 2 seconds.
Yep.
And I think it's just the beginning. I think it's going to get worse.
Oh, definitely. I think until that becomes the zeitgeist of, that's AI, and it has that, stigma, I guess. If it's recognizable, that will become a stigma. I know that, I talked to some young people who are threatened big time about AI, and it's nothing that's happening today. It's where they're going to be in 10 years that they're most afraid of. And they look at now some people supporting AI and doing all their work in AI is just going to hurt, generations in the future, in a sense, I think. So that's a real concern, and I understand that. And we want to speak to that a little bit as much as possible and kind of reassure people that we are a long ways off from getting to anything that becomes that threat. And maybe it is a time to step in and I know that there's a lot of people talking about putting limitations on AI and what it can do. I don't know how the nuances of trying to figure out that problem. I don't.
Yeah, there's other podcasts that are going to set you straight there. But I mean, I think it's cautious optimism is my sense of everything right now, at least for the near term. That the reality is, I think there are things that will be replaced a lot quicker than everything. Like I think in your role, if you're sitting there and waiting for a bunch of instructions to implement
right
to a T, that's where I'd be more worried. Right? Or can you take those, or are you taking those instructions and thinking critically about it, and then thinking outside of those instructions? What's helped shape those instructions? Is it almost being contrarian about it a little bit? I think that contrarian nature in receiving that's when we talk about adding value to the company and stuff like that. It's critical thinking. It's thinking about its place and how it got here. And if you can to learn how to use an AI to do that, and hey, AI, think for me critically about these things and these angles, that it might be possible. I think there are a lot of problem solving kind of instructions you can give, but you have to learn how to do all those things and everything. I think it's building up that critical thinking skills and um, the discernment that I talk about, the like quality, and everything. If you have those eyes and build that and tune yourself,
Right.
train yourself on that.
Yeah.
I don't see that's going to be a lot harder to replace.
I think that's a really good point, is that's what the great promise of AI, I think for me, brings out, is that it's going to elevate the critical thinkers, the smart people with initiative, and enforce that and reward that more and more and more.
Yes.
Because the stories that I've seen in these preliminary stories in the AI, and the funny thing is that we're on the frontier of generative AI. AI has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And automations. When you consider what some people call AI, it's really automations, and those have been around forever.
Yeah.
Like especially in marketing, there's so many automations with email and landing pages and inbound and all the different strategies that we use. Those haven't really changed much. It's really with the generative AI stuff that everybody's all getting all worried about it. And again, it gets to that point of the horror stories. I lost my job to AI or whatever it is. Some of those, when I listen to them or watch them, like you said, they were order takers. They weren't thinking. They were just doing something that, now there's an automation for it.
Yeah.
And so that job was already at risk. So not saying that to, put fear in people, but just, think critically, add value, and you will be in good shape. I think that's kind of where my approach to it was.
I think the other little angle is just personal connection.
Yeah.
That's never going to be replaced too. So if you can build relationships with people and coworkers and everything, and you can hammer out some of these things through conversation, I think that's if you're going to sit in a cubicle and not talk to anybody all day, that's another kind of thing. But I mean, these are kind of, I feel like we're going down a rabbit hole of worry, but what about, I mean, why should we be optimistic about it? Like I feel like there's been correlations to this shift before, right? Like the Industrial Revolution, going back to that, right? Like, that's way back when, right? But like, I don't know. I feel like there's reasons for like not to have such a gloomy outlook on things.
Yeah, I mean, technology's changed forever. It's just, especially if you're in a field that relies heavily on technology, or there's a technological focus on that, you should be used to change happening all the time. That's kind of what you signed on for. Even in our business, I think back, I started doing graphic design and illustration before computers. And then, there was a time
that happened.
Well, I think maybe it was just a fever dream. But we're talking, this was 40 some years ago. This was a while back. And I was there. I was a young designer when all of a sudden we got rid of the drafting table and a computer was sat down in front of you, and you had to put the X-Acto blade away and the waxer, and the next thing you know, you're typing and you're using a mouse. And that was a really tough few years of just translating those handwork skills over to your computer. Was not an instant thing that happened. Same problem. Talk to printers, talk to production people, talk to all kinds of different people. And you would talk to those people and they saw the computer, and there were firms that didn't want to have them and they weren't going to adopt it because it would just ruin the whole craft of design. And same story, same, Chicken Little problems there that proclaimed that it would be the end of, there would be 5 designers in the world and they could do everything because they had computers now and all this stuff. Well, what really happened with it was, yes, there was a learning curve and there was an adaptation that had to take place. But at the end of it, design was elevated to something now that business appreciated, because we became so much faster and better and so much more effective at what we did. Business finally took a notice of it in the late 90s and said, wait, design is what and Apple was probably part of
driving
this, design-driven business type thing. But I think it helped accelerate it by the fact that we all had to convert over and do more work and be able to express ourselves in so many other ways. And then the internet came along and we had even more channels to express our ways. So all these expansions are frightening if you don't change and are not critically thinking about things. But the reality of it is at the end of it, we're all human beings that want to benefit for the benefit of all of ourselves in a sense, and we're going to figure out ways to make things even bigger and better. And I think I'm using that as an example, as I'm not worried about AI because I went through a transition already way back and came out and did better than I ever imagined. So I remember when before the iPhone came out, this is 06, when the rumors of the iPhone were everywhere, rampant. Everybody was excited about it, but they didn't have any details. They didn't understand it. We didn't have touchscreen technology to that level. I mean, we had some rudimentary version of it, but we didn't have touchscreen. So nobody had that concept of just touching your phone and moving things around and doing things on it. And it was funny to hear a lot of people who were big fans of BlackBerry. Mm-hmm. You remember the BlackBerry? And they were called Blackberries because it was like little keyboards that you had your fingers on, and there was little buttons, and it felt like a little BlackBerry, and that's what they were. Yeah. They were crazy popular with business everywhere. You could get an email on it. It was insane. I can't believe it. So they called them crackberries because they were addicted to them being on their BlackBerry. And I remember the criticism of, nobody is going to want to just type on a screen. You need the keyboard to give you the feedback and do all the things. And all the critics came out about it. And it was just like, okay, I guess. Here we are.
There's a movie. Have you seen the BlackBerry movie?
No. There's a movie.
There's a movie about the whole thing. And it's interesting. It charts the whole growth and fall, and they show that moment where everybody at BlackBerry is watching Steve Jobs talk about the iPhone, and a bunch of the engineers kind of see the benefit of that, but the founder is so fixated on the click.
Oh boy.
And then how basically Apple coming up with that, and the knee-jerk reaction of BlackBerry to go back on a lot of their morals that they had as a company. Yeah. Like before the iPhone came out, they never built any BlackBerries outside of Canada.
Wow.
They never outsourced to India or China or anything. And then because of that, because Apple put that out, and this is from a dramatization of this. Please don't fact check all this stuff. This is my recollection of the movie.
Okay, wow.
But they outsourced this new touchscreen that, if you remember, they had a click feel to it. So when you would touch the screen, it still kind of clicked and everything. They, and because of speed and trying to get to market quicker, they outsourced the building of all those things to China. And I think it was a staggering number. This is like the crawl at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Sorry, spoiler alert. But BlackBerry didn't keep going. They had returns and bugs about like almost every single unit had to be.
Wonder if you can get those on eBay. That'd be pretty cool to get something like that, just to see what that.
I forget what it was called. It was a hot mess. You could tell they were just struggling. But
it's like the triangular iPad that they came out with on the Office.
That thing was
got the belt you could carry it around with you. Yeah, that was awesome.
But I think that there's always going to be to the point of all this, right? There's always going to be the holdouts that are like, hey, this is the way it was. This is what people want, and I don't know. That goes back to the cautious optimism, the cautious part of it, because I think there will be some changes. Like even in the let's talk about another thing that's happened in our professional lifetime, right? Photography.
Oh, again, same story. Yep.
So photography, I was you know, when I came up as, you know, in design, I was in this weird zone. We did almost everything on computers, but we still did have the holdouts. So when you talk about using wax, I actually know how that was applied. It doesn't seem like some weird thing that you would apply to your keyboard so your fingers didn't slip.
I have a newfound respect for you now, Mike.
Okay.
Good.
But like photography, that a little bit later, that shift from analog to digital and everything, right? Like, and I actually helped some photographers, like, because I had the computer knowledge, I helped kind of, shepherd feels like a weird overblown word to use, but helped like show like, hey, here's how Photoshop works. Here's how to deal with digital files. Here's how to work on these things. There was a long time where people refused to go digital.
Yeah.
Right. But I think eventually the people who held out as long as they could, they either quit, moved into something else, or they embraced the new reality.
Well, and there's that dynamic that also happens much like with vinyl records, where there's the curve basically nosedives into the ground, and then there's a few
keeping it going.
Yeah, 30 people in the world still have a film camera, and I'm teasing. I'm sure there's
quite a bit more.
It is more popular than that, but I'm getting the point I'm making is that it's on an upsurge, and I think that film camera and analog and cassette tapes and vinyl and all that stuff, there's still space for it in the marketplace, but it's a much more specialized niche.
There's space for cassette tapes.
I just read an article about how popular cassette tapes are becoming.
That is the most contrarian thing you could do. I don't see any benefit to going back to tapes.
The tape part of things, and I guess there's an audio element that people appreciate with the kind of the wobbly sound with it. But they're making new Walkmans, not Sony, but it's other companies. There's a couple of companies that they will. It looks like it's, of course, it's got a touch screen on the front where you can. It's like an iPad, but you do actually can install a cassette. And there's musicians now releasing music on cassette.
Really?
Yeah.
Are these all doomsday prepper people too?
Yeah.
That's the Venn diagram is tightly overlapped here. That blows my mind.
Well, I get vinyl. There is an audio quality because there is that warmth you don't get on the digital.
But you can like skip around like
yeah.
Fast forwarding and rewinding and flipping.
Remember when you could fast forward and hold down the play and like listen to the gap in the song and then stop it really quick? Like you'd tear up your tapes that way. Don't do this at home unless you want to destroy your tapes.
Gosh. But, sorry, I know that's a rabbit hole, but that really, I think you're just trying to make life difficult for yourself at that point.
Some people like to stop and smell the roses, I guess, and maybe that's one of those examples of, hey, let's slow it down. I don't need to just click whatever streaming service and an instant gratification. Maybe I do want to click the cassette out, flip it over, put it back in, listen to side B, you know? I don't know. Maybe there's some charm to that. I'm done with it. I threw away my tape collection like, I don't know, 15 years ago, and I had probably 3,000 tapes. So I was
looking at it just trying to see if you grew like horns or something, like, or an alien. I don't know. Yeah. That seems so foreign to me. The distinction between what we're talking about on cassettes and film usage and all these like retreads back is no professionals are using those things. These are hobby things. These are very niche things. Yeah. Professionals aren't going to go, all credit to your friend's band. They are not pursuing scale.
No.
At all.
They don't work at Salesforce. No. That's my guess.
I'm just trying to brainstorm band names of like an in-house Salesforce band that like
we got
like what would be a name of a Salesforce band, like a group of people who are they love everything about Salesforce and they want to have their own.
It's like there's a CR Monster,
overly complicated and expensive. That's my band.
That's
name.
Their first album.
That's their first album. Yeah.
There's
sales above all else. Those are all album titles, not band names.
The band names need to be a little tighter.
As a guy who likes technology, I do. There's a lot of parts of that I think are really cool, but I think the big thing a lot of things I keep coming back to is this idea that you have to. It's a whole new skill set that you have to clear out time to get the results that you want. And if you care about quality, you're going to have to spend a lot more time.
Yeah.
Trying to get something close. And, I use it every day. I use ChatGPT every day. But there's a lot of stuff that goes from what ChatGPT gets me and what gets delivered for others to use. There's a huge gap there.
Yes.
And so that gap will close over time. I'd like to think it'll never completely close.
I think that, ChatGPT is perfect. That's the one that I'm using a lot. And then I also use Perplexity all the time too, because I think the production, the resources that Perplexity can do when you do search through it, it's just so much more effective than any other search engine out there. Getting back to the generative stuff around ChatGPT, I do use it, but I'll write out a whole thing. And then if I'm stuck on like these two sentences don't work together, I'll copy and paste them, throw it in ChatGPT, fix this, boom, they spit it out. It's pretty close. I'll pop it back in. But a majority of what's in there is not. It's more just, again, it's like engineering a problem for me than it is like just make it up.
Do this for me.
Do this whole thing for me. Yeah, it doesn't have the vision. And I don't have the time, like you said, or a resource to hire a $300,000 a year ChatGPT, a prompt genius, It's just hard. That's the real art of it. Again, it goes back to, do I want to spend those 8,000 calories painting the portrait of the person? Or in reality, to get an image made by Midjourney, it's going to take about 7,500 calories of prompting it and doing it and over, and then paying them the monthly fee and hitting a limit and waiting.
Yeah.
So then I get it. Well, why not just spend those 8,000 calories doing it, in a sense? That's where I feel like we are right now. Again, like you said,
it's going to be
totally different.
I think there's going to be a whole bunch of tools that spring up around it that help, I think and another thing is how process driven are you, right? If you have this step, then this step, then this step, and you could clearly repeat all those things can be condensed if almost everything but like, how is AI, here's another thing. How is AI going to replace you in all the meetings you have to sit in?
Oh boy, I know my clients would miss dearly speaking and seeing me.
Like in corporate culture, it is meetings.
Yeah.
It's all meetings, right?
Yep.
Is that going away? Are meetings going away?
I think that people try to take meetings away, but then I don't know what are the results of that. The AI tool that is the supreme AI tool for meetings is Fathom.
Yeah.
That is the greatest tool. And that is where an example of AI is wonderful, because I used to struggle with meeting cadence as I run a lot of meetings. You do too. Having AI on board and transcribing and keeping track of everything that's going on and giving me quick little buttons to mark parts of the conversation during the conversation, that's incredible. That is a huge, but again, what is that for? It's for analysis. It's another analysis tool that I can go back to or refer to. Clients, anybody on our team can go back into that and see a record of it. Not just a recording, but also just read summaries. And that's fine. That's where AI is really showing its strength right now, is doing that analysis piece. Again, you got to double check it. And I'm never just copy and paste a summary out of any AI tool in a meeting and send that off to a client as like, here's the gospel. There's pretty good chance that it's pretty close, but I do want to put eyes on it and make sure that it didn't, sometimes it misses who said what. And you're like, whoa, she didn't say that, or he said that, or something like that. So
it's like having your own court stenographer in every meeting, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Without all the clickety clack.
Yeah. It's a wonderful, great tool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
But I think when I look at other AI tools that are out there, You know, and it's funny when you look at videos or other resources to do more research around this stuff. So much of the efficiencies that are built into these things are the automation part of it, and those have been around forever. So I don't really look at those as like AIs as much as just automation things. The generative AI stuff that's out there is still just not.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not worried at this point. You need people, like you said. You got to connect with people. That's how. You know, we work in a business that's a lot about relationships and just building trust with people, and it's pretty hard to build trust with a robot.
And I mean, I think there's some false starts too. Chatbots that are on websites, right? Like a lot of them are just so dang frustrating because they were trying to fit, they weren't AI driven. They were okay, let's think about the common questions that people have. Let's give them some answers. And very rarely did they give you the answer you want. So you're like, you've got this, I think they've maybe almost did a disservice is what I'm getting at. Like to what could be that prior thing might have turned some people off to where if they see that little chatbot help thing in the bottom right corner, I don't look at them anymore unless I'm borderline desperate because I can't find contact information anywhere else.
Again, it comes down to what's the nuance of the thing you're trying to solve with the chatbot. I think I've had success when it's been pretty simple things that I can't find on a complicated website. So there's already problems there, like fix the website maybe so you don't have to have a chatbot. Like that's part of what I think, that's part of what people react to on a chatbot.
Yeah.
Not only are the answers canned, sometimes that's okay though. Like, where do I find this? Or can you give me this form? Or can you just, change this thing in my record? Please do that. But if it's nuanced or you got a much more complex problem that maybe has 2 or 3 pieces to it, you're never going to have success out of that. And you're right that the reputation of those is not great. And that's unfortunate is that a lot of companies just rolled it out and never really got, they're always asking you for feedback, which I'm sure nobody really fills out. How was your answer? Terrible. Okay, great. Yeah. Do I see improvements year on year? No, you've done nothing with the data I've given you. I will tell you again, it's terrible, 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 terrible. And we're still in the same place. So it's, people, right?
People.
All right, well, let's sum this up. I think, overall, our perspective is cautious optimism. Is that the theme?
Yeah.
Can we say?
Yeah, that's where I'm at today.
Okay. So, I mean, there are things that are really important that AI is working on. I would say the generative side of AI is exciting for sure, but it's nowhere near prime time where you can just automate stuff and just have the robots making art and design and writing all of your copy for you. There's great tools there that enable efficient progress on those things. Another example I could think of is like just brainstorming, nothing ready for prime time. Again, it's really preliminarily the work you do to kind of think through things. I think that AI helps you look at many perspectives and kind of put more data into your brain quicker. And that's a good thing for you to use it for. You could use it to do quick mock-ups of things. If you wanted to use imagery, I mean, we used to do storyboards where we would just do sketches of stick people. Maybe you can elevate that a little bit more by using Midjourney. But again, you can't, it would take you longer to prompt some of those things. If you got 100 images to use for a storyboard, that's going to take a lot of time. Maybe just a sketch, is going to be a lot better and quicker for that. So those are just some more examples of how AI can make your life a lot easier, but by no means is it a chance for you to just check out, I think.
Yeah, I think, again, I am to this idea of that we're not anywhere close to AI being ready to deliver things for you without a critical eye on them. So, but will save time in some places where maybe we're spending too much time? Yeah, it definitely will. It is already for a lot of people, and I think when you're in part of bigger organizations and you've got bigger teams, there's probably a little bit more time to spend time investing in some of these tools and everything like that. But if you're by yourself trying to get a bunch of stuff done, finding time to do all that stuff is going to take some time.
Yeah.
I think with everything, I think you can take a vacation. You will be able to check out that beach.
Awesome. So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance.
Hold on a minute. This is going to be great. Well, I think that's probably a good point to end this podcast, Mike. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
I know I gave you a hard time earlier, but I think this is a look you can start working on cultivating. I think it's good.
I don't know about that. There's a few people I need to check in with before I do that. But thank you for the permission. I'll let people know. Thanks.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. For more information and other episodes, subscribe to the Marketing Team of One podcast on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify podcast networks. You can also chat with us on the r/Marketing Team of One subreddit or visit marketingteamofone.com to learn more.